Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Dondrea Brown back with another podcast. I'm excited because it's been a long time coming. My man Kam is on our podcast. What's up, Kam?
Y'all, he didn't want me to be here. He started that off so politically correct. I've had to ask him like 7 times, like, is we doing it? Or do I got to reach out to your assistant? Like, is there a cost involved? Like, so, I'm happy to be here. I just wanted y'all to know the truth. That's all. But
and I appreciate you, Kam, because he actually reached out 8 times. Yeah. So be looking for some good content because our goal is to just be real, raw, transparent, and open about today's topic. So because this is not only going to air in Grand Rapids, we going global. Can you tell people who you are, what you do, and then we'll go from there?
My name is Kam Green. Everybody calls me Kam. I am a tech media, I guess, person, expert, whatever you want. I say expert,
Guru.
Yeah, guru. Little guru. Guru. Humble flex. I've been doing this for about, I'm about to feel old, 15, 16 years, something like that now. Maybe a little longer. So I started actually at my church doing tech and media. I was part of the media team at the time under.
And were you forced to do it or did you volunteer?
So I was voluntold.
Okay, yeah.
Shout out to Rhonda Green. That's my mama. She said, you're going to do something. You're just not coming to church. You're going to do something. So I was like, all right, I'm kind of over children's choir. I'm kind of over dancing. I did all of that. I'm trying.
Hold on, you danced? Or?
Yeah, I was part of like the youth dance thing.
What?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, flashback, But so I decided to try tech and media. At the time, Uncle Henry Sapp was the media director, and he was by far,
oh my goodness,
by far the meanest media director you'll ever have in life. But he gave me an opportunity to cut my teeth. I started being a runner at the church at the time. You would take this is a while back, you would take the burned DVDs and CDs from upstairs. You had to run them downstairs to the media table to sell them. It was literally like a runner. That was the job. All the young people started as runners. So from there, I went to cameras. Then I started learning directing. And then I always had like a knack for sound. Anytime we had vehicles or anything, I would be tweaking the sound and trying to get it right. So I was standing next to our sound guy at the time. His name is PJ, Julian Robinson, PJ the DJ.
Okay, shout out to PJ the DJ.
PJ the DJ. I was standing next to him one day and something happened and I heard it. And he was like, you can hear that? And I was like, yeah, I can hear it. And he was like, let me try something. So he told me to sit down next to him. And that's when they had analog mixers and he would show me different tricks and trades. And I just took a liking to it and stuck with him. So he got me started in tech. And then from there, the love for it just grew and started my own company. I've ran churches' tech departments. I've trained churches, venues, all type of stuff. So that's kind of how I started, and that's what I do. One of the things I do till this day.
So thank you, Kam. It sounds like you've been making a lot of impact. I know when me and you first started engaging, it was through Better, Wiser, Stronger. Another shout out to Henry Sapp, but that's all you getting. We ain't shouting him out no more. Okay.
All right.
No more Mr. Sapp. But no, seriously, it was then that you started to talk about not only your experience, but entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So today we're going to take a deep dive into entrepreneurship. And as the conversations go, we just go with it. But starting off first, how do you define entrepreneurship? What does it mean to be an entrepreneur?
Oh, that is a great question. It means to be an entrepreneur. Oh, how would I define it? That's hard. I guess to be an entrepreneur means that you have the ultimate faith in whatever it is that God gave you, or the gift that God gave you, the vision that God gave you. You have the ultimate faith in that when there is no supporting evidence, when there's nothing that says this is going to work, this is the right thing to do. This is, you got to have a blind type of faith to be an entrepreneur. So that's probably what I would land at my definition of entrepreneur.
So I always hear this all the time with, entrepreneurs. They say one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur is you don't work for anybody.
That is not true.
What is your, what do you, tell me about
first,
that.
Stop saying that. Entrepreneurs need to stop saying that. Because what we're not going to do on this podcast, we're not going to lie to y'all.
Facts.
That is not a true statement. Everybody has a boss. Now, as entrepreneurs, our bosses are Uncle Sam. Our bosses are our customers. In the nonprofit sector, your bosses is whatever your grant paperwork says you can and can't do. You are accountable to somebody in one way, shape, or form. So that is not true. Now, do you have your traditional supervisor? No, we don't have like someone to come in and say, but it's almost, sometimes it's worse to be, for have your customers be your supervisors. Because y'all can be awful sometimes. Like if we're being real, your customers can be terrible, but they're the ones that you still got to respect. You got to show up. You got to be on time. You got to do the job. Like, so you absolutely have a boss. I can't stand this new wave of like Instagram entrepreneurs that's just show you a boat in Belize, but they didn't show you that the ticket
Lambo.
Was, you know what I'm saying? But they didn't show you that the Lambo being paid for on a firm, or you know, you like you ain't
or
showing
you rented it,
right?
You rented the Lambo. It ain't even yours,
right? You know, so yeah, you have a boss. Everybody got a boss.
So I'm glad you said that, because when I first, and this is just, you know, transparency, when I first jumped into entrepreneurship, like that was my understanding, because that's what I was sold. Like you said, I didn't have social media. And then I jumped into entrepreneurship, got social media. So that's what I was seeing. So I'm like, oh, it's dope to like do things on your own. But I quickly realized, like you said, I'm like, hold on. Not only are my customers my supervisors, they have different supervision styles. Yeah. So I could have 5 supervisors in a week. Yeah. That's a lot to deal with mentally. Yeah, it is. Right. So when I like literally looking back when I started entrepreneurship, and I look around and like the cohorts or the people that started around me, like they've either taken another direction or they feel like entrepreneurship was a lie. Right. So what are some ways people can engage in entrepreneurship better, or just be more successful in entrepreneurship?
I think you can engage in entrepreneurship better by first off connecting with real entrepreneurs. Like it's one thing to connect with somebody like a online mentor or online coach. Those are phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, exceptional. Some of the people that have helped me step into next level business have been people online. But it's something about being able to sit next to somebody who can tell you both the goods and the bads and the real bad uglies that have to do with entrepreneur. So first connect with somebody that's real, that's accessible. And then I think the second thing would be to understand that entrepreneurship, especially in the beginning, means you will be broke. Like, understand that you are not jumping in this game. I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but it's very unlikely that you will jump in and make $1 million right off the bat, or right in your first couple. And that's with anything, YouTube, or I'm in media, nonprofit, whatever it is that your entrepreneurial drive is, you're not gonna make it in the beginning. Like, and that for me was probably the biggest thing. I have had some very low lows in the entrepreneurship game. So yeah, them would probably be the first two that I would say is a healthy way to engage with entrepreneurship. And then I think lastly, I would say to pace yourself. Like, understand, well, let me backtrack. Manage your expectations, because understand that you will be doing all the jobs in the beginning. You're going to be payroll, HR, hiring, firing, foreman, supervisor, worker. You're going to be everything in the beginning. And there are some things that you will naturally excel at, and there are some things that you will be awful at. And manage your expectations to understand that we all have those areas. We just do. And you'll struggle until you get somebody to come along with you, and maybe they take the thing that you're bad at. Maybe y'all both good at the same thing, and they can take more of it, and you can focus on what you're bad at. Like, it's so many different ways to go about it, but just managing your expectation, especially in the beginning. That's probably my thing.
So thank you for sharing those nuggets. You mentioned something that I think people sometimes are afraid to talk about, which is their low moments. I remember when I first stepped into entrepreneurship, again, in all transparency and honesty, it was because my girlfriend at the time wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what it was, right? But I was like, oh yeah, I want to be with her, all this other stuff. So we started learning more about real estate, right? Watching HGTV, the brothers, like all of this stuff. because we wanted to flip houses. You know, I didn't want to drive the Lambo. I wanted to watch her drive the Lambo. But like one huge low for us was like, first of all, not just getting $80,000 into debt, but trying to get out of it. Right. So we went into $80,000 before we even launched our business because we got in a cycle of that network marketing. Right. We had people say like, we can teach you this, just pay us this. So we kept going further and further. One of the benefits definitely was like, I learned stuff I never knew. Like I look at that experience versus college. And again, rather colleges for people, we ain't debating that yet unless he wants to. But the main piece was like, I learned so much there than I would have ever gotten from a business class when I was taking business in college. So that was like a huge down moment for me. Like me and her will argue all the time. I did some crazy stuff. But before we talk about all my craziness, like tell us about some of your lows, some of your low moments. But tell us what happened.
Man, I remember when my company's name today is Experience Live. It didn't start off that way. The first name was Expressions Productions. The second name was Expression Management. And then finally, I felt like God had given me Experience Live, and that's what stuck. So Expressions Productions started, I was laying on the couch of my then at the time girlfriend. And I've always had like an entrepreneur push, but I kind of didn't know what to do with this media stuff and step into it. And she pushed me to start it. I started it at a time that there was no how-to books. There was it wasn't a thing that was celebrated back then. You know, back then back then sounds funny, but this was, this 12, it's over a decade ago. So before it was a good thing, it was when you're going to get a real job, when you're going to do it. So I struggled, man. I struggled bad. I remember being homeless for 2 years. I had gotten an office space right behind Honey Baked Ham and all of that on 28th Street. I shared it with a Taekwondo space. I took over the lease from some friends of mine. They were moving out. I took over their lease. Shout out to Life Addicts. Took over Life Addicts' old gym space. And I had this idea to do a rehearsal space studio. I knew I was good at it. I was like, all right, I can figure this out,
Right.
Worst than best thing I ever did. Because when you get a building, you have an overhead. You have a monthly fee that is due to somebody, whether you made money
right?
or not. They don't ask you. They don't care. Didn't know that.
Taxes and rent.
Right. Yeah. You got water bill. You got, so you just don't know. Man, so I couldn't juggle everything. Home, I couldn't juggle that. And I ended up homeless. And I lived out of that space for 2 years. I got a membership to Planet Fitness that was across the street in Woodland Mall, whatever mall that is across the street. And I would go to Planet Fitness to take showers, and I would sleep in the office space. And I drove this van, and sometimes I would crash in my van if I was at a gig or something, because I knew I'm not rushing to get home like everybody else after the gig. So, I literally, and then because it was still functioning as a commercial space, in the lease, the rules was couldn't live there. So I had to like push totes up under tables and flip table covers down because I'm not supposed to be living here.
Right.
Or I would like sneak in the bathroom late at night and wash up real fast to come back in, hoping nobody is there, hoping none of the Taekwondo people are there. But yeah, to be homeless and to be sitting and to really just believe in yourself that much with the most ignorant, just bro, no idea of what I'm doing or trying to figure it out. I just believe in me and other people believe in me. So I'm just failing all while, I'm singing a Journey song in my head. Don't stop believing, So that was probably one of the lowest lows, like to be trying, feeling like you were gifted and you're supposed to do it, but not have a roof over your head. And people ask, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Or, oh, I'm good. Or, you can't share that side of you with everybody. So that was like, man, ramen noodles is about every day. You ain't got no stove in this commercial space, got a microwave. That's it. wasn't even no windows in there. So when you sleep in there when the lights go off, you don't know if it's 3 p.m. or 6 o'clock p.m. or 2 a.m. Like,
yeah, that's crazy.
You don't know. So you gotta make sure, you got alarm clocks all over, man. It was a crazy, crazy time.
So what, because you said about 2 years, what, like, how did you keep going? You know what I'm saying? That's a long time. For me, after 3 months, I'd have been like, all right, I gotta switch up.
I've anybody who's known me has known I've always said I just don't believe I was put on this earth to be an employee. I never believed I was meant to work for somebody. I always believed I was supposed to be an employer. Legacy is huge one of my pillars is just, what am I doing for my family behind me? Meyer is the last name. DeVos is the last name.
That's true.
Somebody in that family took a risk and decided we're gonna do it different. And now look at them. There are people in those lines of their lineage that won't ever know what a 9-to-5 or poverty or lack is like. So in my mind, I just was like, I'm gonna be that for my family. Yeah. I'm going to, put all chips in the middle. I'm going all in. There is no plan B. There is no plan C. There is only plan A. There is A.1. There is A.2. So it was just a faith, man. And I'm a huge proponent of faith. I believe, whether I can see it or not, that's just a gift I believe I got from my grandfather, that I have faith for me and for you. Like, if you got a dream, I'm gonna believe your dream for you as I believe my dream. So I just believed, man. I knew, like, it can't be like this forever.
Right. So I'm glad you also said, like, that belief in other people, because that is, like, in my opinion, that's also a driving and motivational force, because it's bigger than you. Mm-hmm. Like, that's huge. But just as much as you believe in people, you got people that don't believe in you. You want to talk about some haters?
Man,
you ain't got to name them by name, but tell us about, I know
what you said. I know. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, tell us about, like, what did those encounters look like, and how did you overcome that? Because we know on the path to success, like, you have to have people that's rooting for you, but that there are people rooting against you.
Man, some of those encounters were painful, because there were people that I thought was, like, really riding with me, that really had my back. And it would be people who would want a gig that I got and be like, oh, he really don't know what he's doing. I can do X, Y, and Z. And that person would come back and tell. So it used to be like, I don't do that to y'all. Like, so why do that to me? So it was people who on the gig side would say that. It was people on the personal side who, oh, he this, or oh, he that. You deal with accusations. You deal with, people call you everything but a child of the king. And my biggest thing was, I never wanted to treat people how they treated me. Right. So even though I know you pulled this long sword out and stabbed me in the back, right, I wasn't going to treat you any differently. Like, I wasn't going to tell your business out. Because that's the thing. I'm not going to get you in trouble. But what I will say is, you always got to be careful who you put your mouth on. Facts. Because you don't know who they know. Yep. You don't know what they know. Mm-hmm. And you don't know what they're willing to share. So facts. You always got to be careful. Mm-hmm. When I can't go out on the street and just be like, Dondrea is this and this and that and that. Because there are people that have grown up with me that that can tell you stories of, man.
Like Kam said, and I'm like, this is why I got him down here, because no.
It's just, you just never know where.
Kam, what you say about me?
I ain't said nothing. I ain't said nothing I ain't said to him. But yeah, man, haters is just, it's a part of the journey. It is a part of it. And although I'm not going to sugarcoat it like it's not painful, man. And so another part of haters that I think isn't talked about enough is, well, I put it in the category of haters, is people who fake support you. Like, to me, either support me or don't support me. I can deal with both. Right. What's hard for me to shoulder is, like, you said you here, you said you riding with me, and then you just disappear.
Facts.
Or you was the one that was talking about it. Like, Why? You could have just been over there with them. Then I know how to deal with you. But it's the people that be in your own camp that be like, I read a quote once that said, a boat never sinks from the water that's on the outside. It always sinks from the water that gets inside. So don't try to sink my ship. I ain't do nothing. I'm not doing nothing wrong to you. So yeah, haters it's part of the game, man.
Yeah. I've learned to shift that to motivation because I've also observed people, climb their way up to the top and become more successful, which means there's a spotlight that's put on them. And I've seen like the public scrutiny, like people talking about them and all those things, the gossip and all those pieces. And I'll be like, man, like as we are building, like that's inevitable for us. So how do we build the capacity to deal with it?
Yeah.
Because for me, I grew up in a bubble.
Yeah.
I was in Ohio in school, like in a bubble most of the times. I would say my biggest haters, depending on the time, was like my kids' moms.
Yeah.
Right. But I never really had to experience it from like friends and all that as much, or even family for that matter, until I started to step out more into this entrepreneurial world, because I think that was a space where, for whatever reason, it demands haters.
It's crazy. So I was fortunate enough to have a blueprint in front of me. I didn't necessarily have to deal. I dealt with it as I got older on different levels, like felt like citywide levels. It felt like my circle level. It felt like different levels I've had to deal with it. And some were bad decisions I put myself in a place that I shouldn't have been. But I wasn't what you said that I was. I didn't do what you said that I do. But you took it and ran with it. But I watched, at the time, I grew up at Lighthouse Full Life Center Church, and Bishop Sapp was my pastor for a good majority of my life. And to see some of the things that he would do behind closed doors, but to see the way that people dogged him in public, the same people that he helped, and to watch some of the ways that he handled it with grace.
Right.
I mean, human, sometimes it wasn't so graceful, but
yeah,
most of the time, I've seen a lot of people that, and First Lady, I loved her with everything. Like that was another mom. To watch people attack her and she never speak ill of them. You never treat them. And I could see her be with them in public and, hey, man of God, hey, woman of God. And I used to be like, we both know this so-and-so was saying such and such the other day, So I had a blueprint, and I'm so much more grateful for that at 30 than I was maybe at 22 or 23, because it helps me to handle some situations with grace, because people don't punch down most of the time.
Yeah,
they don't. So if you swinging, that means you swinging up.
Yep.
And I'm not gonna respond because I'm not gonna punch down.
Right.
So I was fortunate not to be in the Ohio bubble.
So one of the things that we know, there are certain qualities, makeups, steps, blueprints, like you said, to be successful. One of the things I don't really hear too much on everybody's end, whether it's customer, entrepreneur, is like accountability. Like that's huge.
It's huge.
I've heard, one thing I try to do is invest in small businesses, because one, as a person that knows that plight and experience, that's huge for me. But I'm not gonna lie to you, one of my gripes is like when a business doesn't get it right or doesn't, and you address it with them and they still don't figure out a way to either provide good customer service or admit to their, like that's a big like issue for me. Like, can you talk a little bit about accountability, both on customers and entrepreneurs, and like, what does that mean?
Man, accountability is everything, man, because you're not going to get it right. You just, every single time, nobody bats 100%. Nobody. So you have to be able to take accountability as the business. There are some customers and clients that I've lost that I had to own. You know what? I did not communicate well. You know what? When we showed up, stuff was faulty. It didn't work right. I couldn't fix it in a moment. That's on me. That's on us as a company. Right. I got to own that, and I got to learn from it. Well, how do you learn from it? You bring extra equipment. Is it inconvenient to haul? Absolutely. But have we been on events where we wish we had another speaker? 1,000%. Yeah, so you won't ever catch us again without another set of speakers or another speaker. So you learn from it as a business, but you have to own it. I think the worst thing that can happen is for you to act like it didn't happen or try to blame everything and everybody else. So as a business, first, just own it. You know what? If you come to me as my customer, you like, hey man, it just didn't sound good in there. I can know 500 technical reasons why it didn't sound right that were completely out of my control. But what I'm going to tell you is, I apologize. We didn't get it right. And I'm sorry if that negatively affected your business or your customer's experience in any way, shape, or form. Most of the time that disarms you as a customer because you like, okay, cool, appreciate that.
Right.
Then we can have an honest conversation of maybe some of the reasons why that occurred. Or you can decide, you're taking your business elsewhere. And I'm still going to respect you even in that. Like, I understand, I wish you the best in all your future business endeavors. I'm never going to be the person that's like, I hope your business fail. And I'm not going on Google or Facebook to drag you up. And I'm not doing that. So I think as an entrepreneur, that's the accountability side helps you to build your integrity, build your rapport, build your relationships. And it just strengthens the muscle that you'll need to be able to own it and move forward. I have a group of young men that we mentor, that we meet like every Wednesday for Bible study. And one of the big things that I tell them all is to first own it. If a young lady come to you and say, you did X, Y, and Z and it made me feel, own it. Don't make her feel like she's crazy,
That was me back in the day. But
you got to own it. I'm glad you own it now. So
I'm glad you owned it.
As a customer, I think the accountability comes into play is to know that businesses mess up.
Yeah.
That food you ordered may not have smacked like the first time you went. Don't go on Facebook and drag that company. Like,
facts.
Holla at the chef. Like, last time I came, the chicken tasted a little different than it did this time. It was a little drier. And you can be respectful, give some feedback. I feel like, especially in our community, we do so much. I'm not going to talk to you, or I'm going to cuss you clean out. And then when you get mad and say something back to me, I'm then going to go on social media and drag your business up and down the street.
Or talk about you behind your back, never address it.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't even give us the chance to get it right. Or you don't approach us in a respectful way for us to get it right.
Yep.
Don't nobody, including a customer, want somebody cussing and fussing at them. Normally, we know as business owners that it's a rough day.
Facts.
That chef knew that chicken might not have hit the way it was supposed to. The flour wasn't right. The grease was left out. Something happened in that day to let him know, hey, this might be a rough one. And we all have them. So accountability as a customer is like, first, give some grace.
Yeah.
And lead with love. Like, lead with the intention of, I want to see your business get better, not I want to get a free meal.
Yeah.
Like, don't.
Oh, yeah.
Let me say something on this podcast. Hey, don't be that person. Okay.
Facts.
No. But accountability is incredibly important on both sides.
Yeah. I seen this on Facebook the other day, similar to what we're talking about customers. I think somebody was like, yeah, businesses don't respond on time, blah, blah, blah. Right. And then in the comment section, somebody's like, oh, we're not going to talk about how y'all don't pay on time. I said, oh, that was good. It was good because customers, they struggle. They want the service. But then when it comes to paying for the quality of the service, that becomes a whole nother situation. Oh, my payment's late. I can't pay. I'll ignore, all those pieces. So like you said, accountability on both ends is important, and leading with love and grace. Kelvin's over here feeling that.
Because it blows my mind. It blows my mind. Somebody, okay. You owe me $1,000 for my services. I got to call you 1,000 times. But I owe Rent-A-Center $500.
That's facts.
I ain't answering their calls. I'm ducking and dodging them. Why it's okay for me to duck and dodge Rent-A-Center, but gosh. But I'm pressing you and I can't. Yeah. It just be like, there is some area in your life, maybe in the dark, maybe behind the curtain, you owe somebody or something. And you, or has been a time in your life, you ain't paid a bill on time.
Right. Oh my God.
Again, own it. But also have that same grace that you want Rent-A-Center, Consumers Energy, DTE, CarMax. You want all of them to give you when you got to pay your bill. Offer that same grace. Offer that same understanding that you want, you know, and treat them the same way that you want them. Right. Oh my goodness, this is like a golden rule. Treat others like you know what I mean? But it'd be crazy. Like, you know this.
So Kam has to regret. He felt that one, so that was good. So let's shift a little bit. So what are some of your proudest moments in entrepreneurship?
I think some of my proudest moments. One, my proudest moment is being able to, anyone knows me knows, I love my mama. I love the people in my life that mean the world to me. I love them dearly. But like my mom can get just about anything that she wants or needs from me. You know, her Mother's Day presents, it ain't just a card or, you know, I can be like, what you want for Mother's Day? One day she said she want a washer and dryer. To be able to get my mom the washer and dryer that she want for Mother's Day was one of the greatest feelings in the world. To be able to get young people, bring them into a skilled trade in a controlled environment, pay you for your service, and teach you a skill that you can use for the rest of your life. That is, you know, I show up to an event and you see 4 or 5. I got probably 6, I think now on my staff that are all 25 or younger. And to see them in their experience live, shirts, you know, plugging up cables, mixing, doing videography, editing, like those are things that make, you know, some of my proudest moments just in the world. And then being able to encourage those around me, like, you know, some of my closest friends, helping them start their business or pushing them in their dreams or being able to support them. It's like those moments it's so much less about making money, right, and so much more for me about the impact that making money allows you to make. Facts. So like during COVID, our companies exploded because every church, venue, everything in America had to switch virtual.
That's facts.
So we had been doing it for 5-6 years before then. Yeah. Back when you used to have to plug buttons up and turn it and tune it. Back in your day when there was fuzzy TVs and the phones that had to go that back in his day. So we had been doing it since then. So when COVID hit, we was one of the experts. So we was everywhere. And the first year that we crossed a 6-figure business was like, I didn't even know this was like I believe, but when you see it, it's like, and I knew it was real because Uncle Sam reminded me. Uncle Sam was like, yeah, you did that. You sure, good job. You absolutely accomplished the goal. Now, here's what accomplishing the goal costs you.
And bring you back.
Right.
We'll go right back under.
So those moments for me are just like, they mean the most. They mean the world.
It's real. So you started talking a little bit about finances. How important is like financial literacy, financial understanding, financial management, entrepreneurship?
Bro, that's everything, man. That is, because it's not something like when I was coming through school, home ec and all of that was gone.
Facts.
So
that's true. I'm
gonna be like 100% transparent with y'all. Sometimes even today, I'll be having to get on Google, like, how do you write a check again? Like, what do you like? I'm 30 years old, and it's not just an easily like, because I didn't learn how to write a check.
Yep.
So if I didn't learn how to write one, I sure don't know how to balance a checkbook. Just right away, you know, you writing prayers in the bank, you know. So financial literacy is like so important, and I feel like the earlier, that's why like what y'all do is so important. If you can learn finances at a young age, it changes the trajectory of your life. Just because, you know, even if you you could work at Checkers, you can work at the White House, you can work wherever you work, you know the tools and the skills that you need. You have the tools and you know the skills that you need to have to be able to manage the finances that you actually get. So
that's good.
It is so important. Like even to this, I'm not good at it. I'm 1000% not good at it whatsoever. I had to pull my mother she's phenomenal with finances and budgeting. But again, she learned it. There were high school courses, college courses. So she knew how to do it. So she's always like processes and systems. And I'll be like, but I want to go buy a speaker. Like, can I just go get a speaker?
I just want my speaker now.
Right. What do I gotta wait? Why do I wait for systems and processes? But she helps to keep me in line. And so like now, I seen a quote one day that was like, your 20s, you make all your mistakes. In your early 30s, you make up, or you have to correct the mistakes that you made in your 20s. So I feel like I'm in that stage of my life is where I got to correct a lot of the mistakes or issues or bumps. Because I mean, I'm not a person that acts like I get it right. There have been some deals that I was trashing and did burn people that I got to go back and make right. There's been deals that I knocked out the park that I blew the money and then we can't pay people. And I got to figure out, hey, mom, can I borrow $200 to pay? You know, so I got to correct a lot of that stuff because I did not have the financial literacy that I needed. So what y'all do is like way more important than what I do.
So I'm glad you were honest and transparent in that, because that's something that I had to learn, like, because there's so many different levels and spaces of finance, right? There's your personal finance, then there's your business finance. Yeah, and then for the most part, some people, especially as entrepreneurs, we're using our business finance to pay our personal. So it becomes this cycle where I was in Spring GR and they asked me for feedback one time, and I was like, entrepreneurs have to learn how to get their personal finances right, because to a sense, like, your entrepreneur pursuits is just feeding into, like you said, the mistakes that you made through your personal, because you typically build personal finance for business finance.
If you should.
Right. Yeah,
You know?
you should. And then even the concept and behavior of reinvesting that money back into your business is tough for people to grasp, because you're an entrepreneur, you start earning this money. I want that Lambo. I want them shoes. Like, I've worked hard for this, like investing it back in. No, I'm just going to make more money. So it's like, even like some of those behavioral things, it's like, that's one piece that I want entrepreneurs to start to embrace, like you're saying, because I think what we're doing as entrepreneurs is we're trying to be innovative to make like change to things, solve like all these things and support. But then we have our own stuff that we have to figure out. So I thank you for being like open, honest, and transparent, because we don't want to send that message of like you said in the very beginning, it's just the Lambo. Like, it's hard work.
Man, listen, today, not even today, this week, had a meeting with, because my personal wasn't correct. And, you know, I've had cancer. I've battled real life things that further put you in debt. That's like, I have to meet with a bankruptcy attorney. That is probably one of the most humbling and painful experiences as a man and a business owner. Because it's like, on one hand, like I said, during COVID, you can cross 6 figures. But then on the other hand, I got to meet with a bankruptcy attorney to see if this is my next best route, because I don't know if I'll have enough time, resources to clean up this mess that was made, some that I controlled, some that I didn't. So getting your personal finances in order is 1000% important, because it don't matter how much money you make if you don't get your personal finances in order. I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it talks about in there the difference between being self-employed and having a small business. I don't want to be self-employed. I don't want my business to only survive if I show up and then the $1,000 I made, I suck up as Cameron Green because I got to pay rent. I got to pay facts. You know what I'm saying? So I want to shift mine to owning a small business. But to own a small business, if I make $1,000, 500 of it going up. Yep. So now my mom has broken it down into percentages. For every dollar that comes into this company, X amount goes here, X amount goes operating expenses, X amount goes to. So I can see $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, $10,000 in a savings account and be like, we up, but we're not, because you got payroll, you got taxes, we got vehicles, we got a stage, we got stuff that requires upkeep. So you really are at zero. So I wake up every day and have to train my brain to say, this is day one. I don't have nothing. I woke up today with nothing. I got to go out and I got to go be the shark. I got to go hunt to get the money. And then I have to kill my pride enough to say, I'm also not literate enough, or I don't know enough financially, or I'm disciplined enough to where now I got to pass it off to somebody who's better than me. So at 30, I have to deal with financial issues. So what you're saying, I hope y'all tap in with him, pick his brain. Don't pick his brain, I lied. Tap in with him, hire him, pay whatever the consulting fee is, and have him come in and help you get your finances in order. Because you won't be, I mean, we all know MC Hammer Store. You one of the hottest things ever, and bankrupt, and it's a real thing. And people always laugh and be like, oh, I would never. You don't know what you would never do, because you ain't never made that. You will never make that type of money. So
that's facts.
So you don't. You can't say I will never. We know you ain't ever. You won't ever. Can't ever. Like you. So yeah, man, that's important.
Yeah, and finances is a journey. So as much as the more people I've encountered, no matter what their social economic status is, they always talk about constantly trying to work on their behavior, their discipline, etc. You have millionaires and billionaires just trying to figure out the behavioral thing, right? Because again, everybody wants more money, but we typically struggle to manage the money we currently have, right? And that's okay to a certain extent, right? Because there's so many things impacting our behavior, our past. I remember, shout out to my brother Eric, but he used to love buying clothes and shoes because he grew up not really getting a lot. So you start to get that money, like, shoot, I want to, look good. So it becomes this, thing where you're trying to prioritize and all those other things. So like Kam said, like, if it's not us, like somebody, reach out to somebody, read books, like financial education.
Reach out to them.
Financial education is becoming very central, especially to our community, because we know there are different types of wealth, right? There's your financial wealth, but then there's your social wealth. Like, who around you is either taking money or allowing you to make money? Like, you got to start assessing and evaluating those things. Which
Patrick Beverly did an interview just not too long ago. He said, I had to make a list of everybody who's closest to me in my life, and I had to decide, are they an asset or are they a liability? Man, listen. Facts. So I started it.
I was about to say, did you do that?
I started it, and I was like, oh, I don't like this. Like, because you got people who mean the world to you, that you got to honestly look at on paper and say, you a liability. Like, and so what do we categorize liability? If I can look at Cash App, because Cash App keeps a track record.
I did this one up here.
Cash App keeps a track record of, if I have sent you 5 times the amount that you done sent me, just on a basic level. And of course, there are things that factor in and blah, but I have to wonder, are you a liability or are you an asset? What am I gaining from this? Facts. And it has to be beyond a physical feel good. So yes, fellas or ladies, that significant other of yours, you may feel good with them, but when you look at
Kam on fire, y'all.
You know what I'm saying? When you break it down, are you giving them more emotionally, financially, physically than they are then pouring back into you? You, my friend, are a liability, or you have a liability.
Kam about to have people.
I didn't finish the list. I'm going to be straight up, because again, there are some people who I love dearly, who I would go to. Some I have gone to jail with. Some I have gone to jail for. Some I have really gone to war with. That you a liability. Like, we went to jail for nothing. Because now you just...
He said nothing.
You just a taker. And...
Oh, yeah.
And now, and there's a biblical aspect. The Bible talks about he gives bread to the sower and seed. No, he gives seed to the sower and bread to the eater. Sorry, I misquoted that. Are you an eater? Are you a sower? Are you? We can go down a rabbit trail on that. I'm probably gonna piss a lot of people off on your podcast.
Well, maybe part 2, but no, what you're talking about is essential. So, when I was climbing out of the debt and the financial mishaps that I was in, I went to school for free, but maxed out on student loans, basically to give it away. So what you're talking about by going through that list, like I had to go through that list because I no longer had student loans. Like I couldn't get refund checks each semester. So I'm like, dang, these people who are calling and not really saying that there's a problem, but just mentioning a problem or asking me for money, I had to start to reevaluate that. And once I went down that rabbit hole of saying like, I don't have it, you start to really see, people's character, talking about you, saying you acting funny, like all these things. So can't feeling it all. So I went through a lot of that. And then like, that's an ongoing process. Cause then, those people move out the way and new people come in. So you got to keep, like you said, so these things are important. And we say this stuff jokingly, laughing and all that. But again, we live in a space, an economy, and a time where we have to be comfortable reassessing and evaluating the true value of relationships.
Right.
Like how are people, like you said, pouring into you? How are they assisting you? What are they taking away from you? Assets, liabilities. So again, Kam, you done lit it on fire. Any other things, any other comments, entrepreneurship, anything else you want to talk about?
I would say take the leap, but understand that leap, you may hit the ground. But when you hit the ground, get up, dust yourself off, reevaluate the list, the mission, the goal, the trajectory, the direction, the ideas, the resources, reevaluate it all, and then jump again. And keep doing that until you can get that parachute or that parasail and you can catch that wind and you start to rise. And then there'll be a time when you're on the rise and you'll hit the ground again. Get back up. I love entrepreneurship. I love encouraging people to go for it. But it is not easy. You work 40 hours on your job. You may work 85 on your business.
That's real.
There may be some times you fall asleep at the computer and you wake back up and you like, oh, I need to get back to work. You go grab you a quick bite. You may survive on ramen noodles. You you do what you have to do to make it happen. But I really want to encourage whoever's listening to do it, to try it. You have a Dondrea, you have a Kam who is willing to be transparent about our journeys. Like you can reach out, you can email us, you can hit us up on socials. If you know us, you can come talk to us. But I have such a passion and a love for entrepreneurs and people who try it. I try to encourage it as much as possible. But again, this ain't for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of like college. We say college. There are a lot of things that ain't for everybody, and that's okay. I give a lot of credit to people that try it, see if they feel the need to, because again, there's a lot of people that was around me that pursue entrepreneurship and they're not doing it anymore. That's perfectly fine. They tried it, figured it out, it wasn't for them. At some point, depending on, your life circumstance, your resources, etc., it may not be your time, right? That's cool. But like Kam was saying, like, never be afraid to reach out to additional people and just be real. Like, look, I need help. I think one of the things that I've learned as an entrepreneur is like I had to find my network and my community, because being on campus, that was my community, right? You go to this office, that office. Once I left the college world, I'm like, where are my people? Like, where's my network? Like professional development, like where do I get this stuff from? As an entrepreneur, you gotta go get it. You gotta go figure it out. So we encourage you to do that. But you mentioned social. So, if there are ways that people can connect with you and or your business, tell them how they can connect.
Instagram, Facebook. I think that's it. Instagram, Facebook. We got a website. It's Experience Live. Our website is www.xprlive.media. And we do all things tech, audio, visual, lighting. We help produce podcasts. We do it all to try to help people and entrepreneurs tell their story through the media outlets, through media. So whether that's Spotify, iTunes. And one last thing, your circle is so important. I get the privilege through Better Wiser Stronger. We can't say his name no more, but through Better Wiser
Shout
Stronger.
out to that one guy.
Shout out to that guy. I was able to connect with Dondrea, but I have a circle of people who go after it, who try. Some I call family, you know, that, you know, you got singers, you got Xavier, Avalon, you got beauty shops, you got Angel Marie's Beauty, you got, I mean, Better, Wiser, Stronger nonprofits, you got, I mean, my boy Xavier had done he done sunglasses, like he did, like he was doing, there's just different things that people are out here trying. I seen somebody do socks. I think it was Dreams Take Work. I don't know him personally, but you know, shout out to the guy doing socks. I know some truckers. I know, you know, Wolfpack Trucking. Like I know a ton of people, but I try to be intentional about surrounding myself with people who are doing things like me or trying to do things or are better than me at what it is that we do. And in doing stuff like that, you get connected to new people. So even though I had to beg Dondrea, I had to bribe Dondrea. Then when I came down here, I found out he only wanted me to come down here because he needed his lights fixed and he wanted me to test the mics. But it's okay. We made it, and hopefully we get to come back for a part 2 at some point. But yes, Instagram, Facebook, Experience Live, holla at me. I'm open for any conversations, any type of connections. I'm not gonna lie to you and act like I'm just gonna do my services for free. I'm not gonna sit on this couch and lie, because I'm not. But I'm always down for conversation if I can. You know, I'm real. I ain't gonna lie to you. I might tell you a joke, but I'd never tell you a lie.
So we appreciate Kam for coming on. Again, this podcast is created to just be real, open, authentic. Now, we know this ain't a space where everybody tells everything, but we give an additional piece of ourselves that sometimes we don't always get the platform or space to give. So I thank you for doing that. And in the spirit of doing that, I always give our guests an opportunity to just ask me a question, either about me, just it could be anything. And again, if I want to answer it, I'm going to answer it. So far, I've answered all of them. But if I don't want to answer, I'm like, Kam, don't do that to me. But go ahead, Kam. Any questions you got?
I was going to ask him an ignorant question, but he wouldn't answer. So I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to ask him an honest question. It's going to stir the pot a little bit, but
don't be stirring pots.
I ain't going
off camera, we going to stir pots.
I was going to stir the pot a little bit. If anybody seen Wild 'N Out, it was going to be like that Plead the Fifth game. I was going to see if he answered the question. If y'all ask me, and I remember next time I come back, I ask that question. But a real question is going to be, what moment, well, we call them split rock moments, where life happens and you have to make a decision to go forward or to stop. What was the split rock moment for you that made you say, okay, I'm going to keep going, when you had every right and opportunity to quit? What was that moment for you in your entrepreneurial journey?
Ooh, Lord, that $80,000 in debt. Kam.
That's weird.
Kam. So really quickly about that. So again, at the time, me and my girlfriend, I wanted to go into real estate because she wanted to go into real estate. And we got into $80,000 in debt. And majority of it was in her name. And for me, like, I still carried the weight of it because I carried the weight of student loans. And for me, debt, I just got so angry with debt. I'm like, I don't like carrying this weight because it don't leave. Whether you're trying to get a house, apartment, like whatever, it's just there. You look on Credit Karma, you're like, man, it's still here. So working a 9 to 9, because again, that was my 9 to 5. I treated it like I was an entrepreneur. Like I always used to stay there late and all those things. I would still try to come home and work in the business to try to pay off the debt. I'm like, I'm exhausted. Then I would Uber. And it's so funny because my kids, as they grown up now, they reflect on just, oh, Daddy, remember you coming in saying like, oh, I got to go Uber. Right. To 2, 3 in the morning. And I'm just, at one point it was motivating. Then it became very tiring because then once you make the minimum payment on the debt, because you didn't make enough to make the pay toward the principal, you're like, man, this ain't going nowhere. Like, I want to stop. Like, I just want to ask for a raise at my job. Like, this is just stupid, all these things. But one thing hit me is like, I truly enjoyed the opportunity to have autonomy, right? Which in my belief is different from, working for people, etc. Because you're always going to work for people, like Kam said. Like once I shifted that perspective, I was like, okay, I'm cool with that. But the ability to have autonomy, meaning someone is leaning on you for your expertise and not just saying like, yeah, you're here, you have a role and job and all that other stuff. I love that space because I recognize as a child, I've always operated that way. So I was like, man, I need to figure this out so that I can live in that space, because that's my sweet spot, because it also allows me to have more time with my kids. Like that became ever apparent of like, man, so now I can say like majority of the work I do, I can take my kids to, which is powerful because one, I have a lot of them, but then two, many people lose that time with their kids for anything, right? They're 9 to 5. You typically ain't taking your kid to a 9 to 5, right? So as an entrepreneur, or the pursuits that we are pursuing, we have opportunities to involve other people. And I'm always a firm believer of being the last generation that starts from scratch. So I want my kids to be ingrained and have the experience as early on as possible. And the last generation starts from scratch, meaning like I'm giving up on my generation. Like I'm done. I'm sacrificing everything I can. Like you said, somebody had to make that sacrifice. I'm like, that's me. So I can't stop, because if I stop, there's literally nobody else in my family that's gonna pick it up. Like I can be I talk to my nephew who's behind the laptop right now all the time. I looked at him one day, I said, so if something happens to me financially, who do we know in my family that's gonna support me? And he was just looking like.
And that's deep. That's real though.
Yeah. But then I told him this. I said the closest person is my 17-year-old daughter.
And that's
because I've been helping her build her finances. She's been learning what we've been doing, and she ain't no joke. Like, shout out to her. She's going to be a force when it comes to investing and all that stuff. She eats up financial. She don't just go to my financial workshop. She goes to other people's stuff too. She's 17. Right. So for me, I'm starting to see the legacy come alive. And for me, that was my moment. Like, man, I could have stopped and we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Like being able to connect with individuals like you, because I'm intrigued of like, man, to be in that space for 2 years, like what keeps you going? Because I'm looking back on like, dang, I had to figure stuff out too. So how are we, sharing that energies? Because I love people's stories of like, look, I had to push through and this is what happened. So that was one thing for me. And hopefully, like, if you are listening and y'all are going through stuff, like me and Kam are trying to stress, like, not only did we push past it, we learned so much from that experience to like, if we ever go through it again, it won't be as long. I guarantee that. So, yeah.
Listen, there's lessons in the valley. There's lessons you learn in the valley that a mountain can never teach you. There are things that you learn when you got to figure it out. When you had to figure out that $80,000, man, you get real creative. You get real innovative. You get like, you got to figure it out.
I'm glad you said that, because that became the blueprint of how I teach financial education. So when people come to me and they're like, I'm in this much debt, I'm like, you can get out of it. How? Listen, you may not like what you have to do, but you can get out of it. You're going to have to cut some people off. You're going to have to literally go into the nearest bathroom or mirror and start having a real conversation with yourself. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have some fun. It's a different type. Like, there are things that you can do that can, and then leverage the resources around you. My biggest resources are my kids. I never forget, people like, oh yeah, you got all these kids. I'm like, they got their own savings account. They got their own investment account. They can talk to you about money management. And we all split family trips 9 different ways. Facts, right? So I didn't let my kids become a barrier and be like, oh, I got all these kids, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, how can I help them learn some things earlier on so that they can support me? Because that's accountability. And that's accountability at the family level. Because again, there are cultures, there are spaces, there are people that's figuring it out and have figured it out. We're just late to the party because we're knuckleheads, right? There are certain things we ain't willing to do. There's pride. There's so many things impacting our ability to be like, let's just change the way we've been living, because we've been living this way for a certain amount of time based on the decisions that we made. I ain't blaming no system. I ain't blaming politics. There are certain things that we chose to do. We got that refund check and blew it. Like, let's be real.
Man. No, I mean, I echo that sentiment so much. And my young people who I hope can see this, they will tell you that I'm a very practical person. And I'm like, you want to live by yourself for what? And I ask him straight up, you want your own apartment for what? You trying to hump? You don't need to do it. You can't afford that right now. Because if you get a kid out of this, you can't afford to take care of this child. So what do you need your own place for? If your answer ain't nothing besides, I want my own space, okay. Well, you can have your own room where you can shut the door and open the window. Because you need to be realistic about the funds that you bring into your household.
Yep.
You waiting on your refund check for what? So you can go blow it? What are you buying that's going to help you make some more money? If you're a photographer, you should buy some lights. But if you're going to buy the lights, don't let the lights sit in your room. You got to make some money with them. Don't just waste your money.
Okay, Kam.
You know what I'm saying? Like if we get
Kam.
real practical and we get down to the nitty gritty. He talked about decisions. We got to come back for another 2 because we got to talk about decisions. Decisions.
Yeah. So
I'm digress.
So I definitely appreciate you for coming. It's been a good conversation. Listen, whether y'all watching us on YouTube, Facebook, it doesn't matter. Just throw in the comments what stuck to y'all. Other lessons for entrepreneurship. We are bringing Kam back, and I promise you ain't got to ask 8 times.
Y'all heard him. We going to hold him. He said accountability.
Hold me accountable.
Hold him accountable. But I'll hold him too. We're going to remember.
But yeah, just make sure you check us out. We're going to be coming with some more guests, but he done set the tone because he done came with some real stuff. So we might have to have that one guy, Mr. Sapp, come back and be a little bit more realer too. Because once he watch your stuff, he can be like, see now, yeah, I got to come back. Because
come back, Unc. Come back, Unc.
But we appreciate y'all for the Count the Cost podcast. Me, Kam, you going to see us again. Peace.
Blueprint is the curriculum of YMF. They work to empower youth and families to take control of their financial future by ending barriers and closing gaps in financial security through education, classes, and camps, and is open to kids between 11 and 17, helping them create a financial foundation to invest in their future.